today we are going to be talking about resilience in children and adolescents, how we can build resilience, and then how we can reduce vulnerability. But before we do that, we'll just take a short quiz. So you answer false or true, depending on what you think about it's even up, about the statements that I make. So resilience is about not letting anything bother you. Is that true or false? Okay. The next statement, resilience is something that you are born with. Okay. Resilient people can figure everything out. Okay. Resilience is never giving up. Okay. Okay. Resilience is doing everything on your own. False. Okay. Okay. So after we finish talking, then we'll go back to this quiz and see whether we got it or not. Okay. So, okay. Okay, so many times when we think about childhood, you think about children, maybe not adolescents, but childhood, we think about it as a carefree period. Abi, children don't have any care. What are you even thinking about? I mean, you just sleep, you wake up, there is food. You don't have to worry about where the meal is coming from, where your clothes are coming from. And so many times it's so easy to assume that childhood is a carefree period. Is that true? Yes. That's what many of us believe, many of us think. In fact, many of us keep thinking, I wish I could go back to when I was a child, when I didn't have any care. But is it really, really a carefree period? No. I'm sure that if we think about it, even in childhood, we have had challenges, things that were looking too big for us to handle. It's just like somebody is wanting to write JAMB. If you remember if you wrote JAMB or SSE, when you wanted to write it, it was the whole world. It was like everything. It was so difficult. But now, when you see somebody writing JAMB, you're like, what are you even doing? How many reading? So it's just that the fact that we have passed that period does not mean that it is not a challenge to us, or it's not a challenge to people. Now let's step back a bit. There's so many issues in the world. Am I right? I mean, when you watch the news, when you read the news, there are so many stories of pain, loss. There's just a lot. And then it seems to be increasing even over the years. There's so much sadness, sometimes it even gets a bit overwhelming. Am I right? Yes. And it doesn't seem to spare any age or any nationality or any economic class. Everybody somehow seems to have some amount of pain or trouble that they go through. And the Bible even said it actually, that in this world, what will happen? There will be tribulations. In fact, somewhere in... let me try to remember. Somewhere, I can't remember the scripture now, but where it says, count it all for joy when you have... Thank you. In James, okay. Where you have it, where you go through tribulations and trials, because it's like a refining process. And then somewhere in, I think Malachi 3:3, if I'm correct, it talks about God being the refiner and refining silver and all that. And it just got me thinking that God must really love us. We are precious to him. I mean, if he described us as pieces of wood, for example, that would mean that every problem will just be chipping at us until there's nothing left. But for silver, what it does is that even the fire is refining. It's making it into something stronger and more precious. Okay, I'm digressing a bit. I'm sorry. So, but basically, what I'm trying to say is that there will be problems, there will be tribulations, and our children, our adolescents, are not left out. Some of the problems they will have, even though they may not look big to us, are various problems. They could have issues with maybe changing classes, issues with their friends, issues with knowing what they want to be in future, their bodies changing, different issues. Some people may have issues in the family, with the parents and everything. So there are many things that could happen. Apart from that, there could be losses. Even if they don't lose a loved one, it can be something they hear. Or so there's a lot of things that they could struggle through. And so it is important for us to be able to help them, prepare them to face these struggles. Okay, so now, like I've said, childhood is not a carefree period. It's not just a period where they're just coasting through life. Many children, many adolescents actually struggle with a lot of things. And I know that as parents, it's very hard to think about your children going through a hard time. In fact, as much as possible, we want to shield them if possible. You want to try and protect them from the evil world out there, from things that could happen and everything. It's tempting to want to rescue them all the time. Once there's problem, you want to solve it. Once there's this, just give them a quick fix. Don't worry, I'll do this for you. And it feels like that is, you are helping them. But in actual fact, some of these things may be more detrimental than actually helpful. So, I'll talk about the story of a butterfly. It's a common story, though the author is not known. We're not sure who the author is. So there was a small boy in a town somewhere who saw a cocoon. That's, the butterfly before it becomes a butterfly. And he saw it on a leaf. And so he took it home. He saw that it was trying to break out of the cocoon to become a butterfly. And then he was waiting. He wasn't doing it fast enough for him. So he decided to help the pupa, I think that's the name. So he peeled off the cocoon a bit so that the butterfly could emerge. And then when the butterfly came out, he saw that the wings were not very straight, and then it was a bit bloated, and the butterfly could not even fly. And then within a few hours, eventually the butterfly died. And he now asked somebody who knew a bit better what happened. And then that's when the person explained to him that the process of actually breaking out through that cocoon strengthens the butterfly. It actually helps him prepares him for the world ahead. So as he's pushing through, the fluids inside the wings and everything are coming out. And then so eventually when he comes out, he's prepared and can fly eventually. So in attempting to help him, actually, he inevitably crippled the butterfly. And many times that's how, as parents, as guardians, we are to our wards. You want to protect them, you want to help them, and at the end of the day, you end up crippling them. I'm sure we have had a lot of stories about children and adolescents these days, and we are wondering that why are they're not strong, they're not any little thing. They are devastated. Everything, they don't even, we can tell stories of how when it was our days, we could do this. But it seems as if they are becoming not as strong. They cannot seem to withstand adversity. And some of the reasons will be this, because we have shielded them so much. You feel that I've gone through so much, my children must not suffer, my children they must enjoy, they must have everything. And then we give them everything on a platter of gold. And at the end of the day, instead of helping them, what we are doing is actually to cripple them. So now, the title of this talk is Increasing Resilience in Children and Reducing Vulnerability. So we'll just quickly define what exactly is this vulnerability and what is resilience. So vulnerability basically refers to the chance of somebody having an adverse outcome or a negative outcome. How likely it is for a person to have a negative or an adverse outcome, basically. And we know that children are a vulnerable population for a number of reasons. Physical strength, they are small. Anybody can take physical advantage of them. Their mind is not as developed. Anybody can deceive them in any way. They are not financially responsible. They are not making money. So anybody can take advantage of them. They don't have resources. So children are naturally a vulnerable group. And so that means that they are, except something is done, they are more likely to have some of these negative things happen to them. And there are many factors that can make a child more vulnerable than the other. Now, one of the questions I asked in the quiz was whether vulnerability is a trait that people are born with. The answer is not very straightforward. Now, we know that if you have let's say two children in a home, one may be able to withstand more adversity than the other. One, things happen to them and they are up again and going, they continue. And then the other, you just say one time, one word to them and they've broken down, they're crying and everything. So some children maybe may be more resilient than others, but resilience is not something that is something that is developed and built. So even though somebody may be more resilient than the other, it's not something that once you are not born resilient, that is it. No, it's something that can be nurtured and built. So there are many factors that affect a child's vulnerability, many things that can make a child to be more vulnerable than another person. Some of it, what part of it will be the person's natural disposition. I mean, some children are generally fighters and can withstand, while the others may not be as much. But apart from that, other external factors that could contribute to a child's vulnerability: the environment, their social environment, their circumstances, where they are born, where they are. People that are in disadvantaged places that maybe have gone through very difficult circumstances like war, like famine, may be more vulnerable than other people who have grown up in a more safe and stable environment. Another thing is parental capacity. And I'm happy that my elder, Dr. Elugbadebo, spoke extensively about parenting. And parenting, you cannot overemphasize the role of parenting in children and adolescents. That is the first education that they get. And so if the parenting is faulty, it is more likely that a child will be more vulnerable than another. And then also, still in the environment, experiences of abuse, of neglect, and other adverse experiences, which we may still talk about a bit later. So that's basically vulnerability. Now, resilience. In this talk, resilience and vulnerability are more like words and opposites, so to speak. So what now is resilience? Resilience originates from a Latin word, which basically means to rebound, recoil, or to spring back. So we all know what a spring is. And then when you push it, you pull it, you do this, it recoils. It comes back to its normal shape. You twist it, do different things, and then it comes back. That's basically what resilience is. A person's ability to bounce back from adversity, to bounce back from troubles without reaching a breaking point. Okay. So that's basically the ability to bounce back from adversity, from trauma, stress. It's not about being invincible. It's not about being above every problem, but being able to cope healthily with problems is basically what it is. And adapting well in the face of challenges, and that will involve how the person is thinking in the face of challenges, their actions, the things they do, and all that. So resilience is a trait that can be cultivated, learned, developed. Some children learn resilience from their parents. Some children cultivate it on their own. But it is important for us to cultivate it, to arm our children with the skills they need to be able to withstand the world. So, okay, I said, why is it important to build resilience in children? I've said a lot of things about that. But basically, resilient children are able to recover from setbacks. They can get back to living their lives more quickly. Say, for example, two people sat for JAMB and two of them failed. A resilient child, after a while, they've cried, they're sad and everything, but life goes on. What else can we do to make sure that this does not happen again? While a person who is not as resilient may stay there and keep, why me? Why did I fail? I'm not good, I'm not this. And then eventually, the outcomes are likely to be different, because the person who bounced back is likely to do what? Look at their mistakes and say, okay, I didn't read enough, or I was studying, I didn't understand. Maybe I need to ask people to explain to me. While the other person is probably just there, moping, crying, they can't seem to move on. If they write another one, who is likely to pass? The first person. And then the second person is now a vicious cycle. It now makes them doubt themselves even more, make them down, and so that's why it's very important, so that our children can bounce back from setbacks. Because like I said, there will be, no matter how many, God forbid, we say, our children will have some things they need to deal with. In fact, it is important for them to grow and develop. So there will be some setbacks, there will be some issues. It helps them to build confidence. It helps them to feel more capable and to be able to face challenges on. At some point, I mean, no matter how much we love our children, at some point, they will have to stand on their own, no matter how much we wish to protect them. And at that time, if we have not equipped them enough with these skills, then they are not likely to do as well as we want them to do. So, although resilient children will experience problems as much as other children, they are able to cope with these problems. They are able to cope with the emotions they have, and they are able to use adaptive things that are not self-destructive to cope with problems. So they are less likely to cope with unhealthy ways, like becoming, some children, they go through issues and then they become aggressive, they become defensive. Adolescents may even turn to things we call unhealthy coping mechanisms. So they start to follow maybe a bad crowd, they start to experiment with drugs and all that. And those are things that are likely to occur as a result of low levels of resilience. Okay, so we've talked about resilience, why it is important. Now, how exactly can we build this resilience? How exactly can we ensure that a child and adolescent is we cultivate the resilience and make them better? So there are many factors that influence resilience. Family relationship and a relationship with others. So primarily the relationship in the family, and that is one of the most important things, and then the relationships with others. Also being self-aware, understanding their emotions, their strengths and weaknesses, being able to think critically and find solutions is also something that improves resilience. Being able to manage their emotions. There are many children and adolescents and even adults that have not been able to manage their emotions. And that's why you find people throwing tantrums. I mean, it's natural for a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old to throw tantrum. When they are frustrated, they don't know how to let out those emotions again. And then they throw a tantrum, they are throwing things and screaming and shouting, hitting. That is appropriate for that age, even though there should still be boundaries set. But that is appropriate. But even now, we find adults that throw tantrums when they don't get their way, when they get frustrated, and then and that is because they have not built emotional regulation, which is also part of being resilient, being able to manage your emotions and respond to situations. Another very important thing in building resilience is positive role models. So we can't just talk the talk and we are not walking the walk. Your children are copying what you are doing. You are a model to them. If you are saying one thing and doing another thing, it's not likely to work. So if, let's say, at every little inconvenience, you are devastated and you've scattered everywhere and you are shouting and you are this, they are likely going to copy and follow in that path. So positive role modeling is very important to demonstrate resilience and positive behaviors. Okay, so we'll just pick some of the points quickly and talk about them. So like I said, relationships is the foundation of a child's resilience. The most important relationships of a child is with who? With the parents. At a point, by the time they get into adolescence and all, it may now be their friends and colleagues. But for children, the most important relationship is the parents. And it is important because it is time-bound. After a while, you won't be the most important relationship to them, no matter how they love you. I'm sure many adults here, if they are talking about people that are married and maybe have children, if they say, oh, who is the most important person to you? It can't be your parents anymore, no matter how much you love them. There was a time they were the all in all and everything. But now, no matter how you love them, they cannot be the primary thing. So you need to maximize this time because it is time dependent. Sometimes I have a 3-year-old daughter. She follows me everywhere. I'm going here, she wants to go. In fact, before I left her to come here, it was like war. And sometimes I just tell myself that, okay, it's just a matter of time. After some time, so let me just enjoy this. Because my 7-year-old, now sometimes she doesn't even want me to be too. In fact, yesterday she told me I was embarrassing her. So at some point, it's just in phases, it will pass. So we need to maximize whatever time it is now. So in childhood, you need to maximize your relationships with them, because at a point, it will not be the major thing to them again. There will be other relationships, other voices that will be speaking. So it is important to develop strong relationships with your children. I mean, they should feel loved, they should feel safe and secure. So for example, they should be able to talk to you and not be afraid of some consequences. Of course, they will know that you will still stand for what is right and everything. But for example, if let's say a child is scared of telling you something, and then you say, don't worry, say it, whatever it is, I won't beat you. And then they say it, and the thing is very grievous, and you beat them. What do you think? They won't trust you again. They won't tell you again. They won't tell you again. So we also need, in our relationship with our children, our adolescents, we need to build trust. One of the ways to build trust will also be to regulate our own emotions. Like I tell people, many people deal with children out of frustration. So the other day, I bought a crate of eggs, and it was in the car. I was offloading my things, and my 3-year-old carried the eggs and was coming to help me, and she fell down and it broke. And the egg, I bought it for 6,500. My first reaction was to shout and beat her. But when I thought about it, it's true. I mean, she was trying to help me. So what message am I passing across to her if she carried the eggs and then I beat her? Next time, don't help. If I had said, don't touch it, it would have been a different conversation. But for her age, it's not appropriate. So I am the adult in that scenario, and it is on me to regulate my emotions. No matter how angry I am, no matter how upset I am the one that should be able to regulate my emotions more than her. So eventually, it pains me because, but if I had just reacted, I would just probably do something that will have far-reaching consequences, because she will remember, like my 7-year-old daughter still remembers one day. She said she was, I don't know how old she was, but she said she poo-pooed in the bathtub and I beat her. And she said, in fact, she told me, she said she wished she could stand up to me that day to tell me that, but she's just a baby. But I thought, for somebody that could reason that much, you should not poo-poo in the bathtub now. So I know that I must have beaten her. But for her to remember, she told me this last year. Most likely it happened when she was maybe 3. So they remember some of these things, and some of these things may scar them. It doesn't mean you should not correct children. It doesn't mean you should not beat them. But you need to regulate and do things. In fact, many times when you are spanking a child, you should have a discussion and let them know this is the reason why I'm spanking you. I am not spanking you because you did this. I'm spanking you because this and this and this. So it's also important not to react when you're angry. Many of us do that, Nigerian mothers especially. Before anything happens, a slap has landed. In fact, it is children nowadays that I know they don't even recognize these things. Somebody is angry with you and you are standing in front of them. I remember my mom had some words and she was so angry and they were standing right there. I said, hey, you people are seeing danger. They don't even know that anything can land on them. The first thing to do when your mom is angry is to step back, shift, because something will land on you if you don't. But they don't seem to know that. They will even be coming close to you and be, even when you are coming. Anyway, so what I'm trying to say is that we don't react in anger. So that time that you're very angry, don't do anything. Some people say the anger will go. It's better for it to go, and you know that you are correcting because you want to correct something rather than because you want to vent your anger. Okay. So children should feel loved, they should feel safe and secure. And it is the sense of safety and security that will give them confidence to explore the world. It is that sense of security that will help them to rise from setbacks. Again, many of our usual, what we used to know before was that children should not express themselves too much. They should not, in fact, children that talk too much, they don't, you caution them a bit. But I feel that it is important for children to be able to express themselves. Even if a child will tell you, Mommy, what you are doing is wrong. Let them talk. Let them express themselves. Then you can now say, you don't say that to an adult maybe. Or if you are outside, don't say it this way. It sounds rude. You should rather say it this other way. Or, Mommy, are you joking? Or are you serious? And then I'm sure if you say, are you joking? I know that I've gotten, an adult has slapped me before because I say, are you joking? And they say, me joking. But let them talk. Let them express what they are saying. Then you can now redirect them a little more. So give them the sense of security. Let them have a base, a safe, a secure base where they know that, I can always, my voice is heard, I can be heard, and then they have confidence. So their relationships with you as parents is very important, but also their relationships with other people, grandparents, uncles, friends, church members is also very important, and then teaches them a sense of community. It gives them connections and a sense of belonging to something, and then they know that they are valued. So these will help to increase a child's resilience. So like I said, relationships, they're the foundation of a child's resilience. And then it starts, first of all, with you. If you get it right with your relationship with them, by the time they're adolescents, when they have to, when the most important relationship is now that of their friends, that relationship you've had with them will influence the relationship with their friends, because they may still confide in you, even to pick friends. They may, so that is very important, because after some point, it doesn't really matter so much what you are saying. What is more important is what people around them may be saying. So it's important to cultivate it. Okay. So another thing is your children need to develop some skills, different skills, to help them to navigate life. One of the important skills they need to develop is managing their emotions. And like I said earlier, I find that many adults even don't know how to manage their emotions. They lack what we call emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is you being able to manage emotions, your emotions and another person's emotions. So first of all, you need to, many people, things happen to them and they don't even bother to look at it. They just say, I'm just not happy, I'm sad. If you further ask them, why are you sad? What's making you upset? They did not even bother to sort through it. So managing emotions starts with recognizing the emotion. Okay, I'm feeling a little upset. What exactly am I feeling? Am I angry? Am I sad? Am I annoyed? Am I disgusted? What exactly? Name that emotion. Then now find out what's made me to be angry. Okay, maybe because I greeted her and she did not answer me. What about that greeting her that she did not answer me made me angry? Then you may find out that maybe it's because I felt disrespected or something else. But being able to understand your emotions is important. And then it's important for you to also deal with your children. Helping your children also being able to understand their emotions and manage their emotions properly is important. So they need to be able to self-regulate. I mean, you can't, your child needs to be able to know that their emotions should not be in other people's hands. So the fact that this person did this does not mean that your whole day should be spoiled. How do you, okay, they did something that annoyed you. Let's say they decided to play with everybody and they didn't play with you. So are you going to sit down and then for the rest of that day, you are just sad and upset? That you should be able to give them that power to know that your emotions are your own. How you react to people how you react should be dependent on you. It should not just be based on how people treat you. So if nobody in class is talking to you, what can you do about it? How, if you are feeling sad because something is happening, what can you do about it? Are you going to wait until they come and say sorry? They may never come and say sorry. So you need to equip them, to teach them with how to be able to manage emotions, how to be able to handle their emotions, understand and handle it. Okay, so we also need to teach them problem-solving skills. So I've talked about emotional regulation, problem-solving skills. Again, many children these days don't seem to have problem-solving skills. Something happens and they don't know what to do. If you ask them, okay, so what do you do? They are blank. They don't. You should be able to. Problem-solving skill is a skill that is cultivated. So helping them to solve problems may not be helpful to them in the future. So let's say, for example, something happens to your child. Rather than say, okay, let's do it this way. Okay, what are the things you think we can do? And then you help them to list all the things. Okay, now that you've said all these things, which one do you think, if we do this one, what do you think will be the outcome? They will tell you. This one, what do you think? So based on what we have listed, which one do you think we can take? Okay, we'll take this one. If this one does not work, what else can we do? Okay, we'll do this one. That equips them to know that they have the resources to solve problems. If every time something happens, you are, okay, let's go and do this. Let's say, again, JAMB. An adolescent fails JAMB. And I say, don't worry, come. Let's go. You will go to this coaching. Why don't you sit them down and find out, okay, you got 126. So you cannot go to the university. What can we do? What do you think we can do? Then the child themselves can come up with, okay, maybe I should register in this thing, or maybe I should go and do this. It doesn't mean that you may go with that eventually, but being able to let them try and solve these problems. Don't just bring it to them, or as small as, what are we eating today? Don't be the solution provider all the time. Let us, okay, we ate rice yesterday. What do we eat today? If we eat this, are we going, let them be able to do that back and forth and solve the problem. That will help them to develop problem-solving skills. And then it is better for them to be able to solve this than for you to be solving every minor problem for them. Okay. So you also need to teach them to be persistent. So the fact that they did something, it did not work, does not mean that they should give up. You need to teach them persistence. And like I said again, you have to be the positive role model. So if they see that you yourself, you are not persistent, there is no talk you will talk that will make them persistent. But now, also on the flip side, resilience is not just about doing something and not giving up. Sometimes, failing several times may mean that you need to look inward. So you can't keep doing one thing the same way, and then it does not work, and then you say, let's just continue until it works. Sometimes you may need to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, what are we doing wrong? Is this really what we are supposed to be doing? And being able to admit that, oh, this thing, it probably did not work because this and this and this. Let us try it this way. It's still a strength. Some people will just continue and continue, which is a good thing. But when you fail, you need to look. In fact, after every failure, you should look back and say, okay, what did I do different? What did I do? What can I do better? And that will help you to be persistent. So yes, being persistent, but wisely persistent. So you are not just doing the same thing, and then it's not giving results. Looking and being able to, that will also bring in problem-solving skills. When they look and say, okay, we've done this so many ways, let's go back. What is the problem? Then they may be able to actually fix that problem. Now, we also have talked about relationships. We've talked about some skills that they can learn. Now, they also need to have helpful habits and attitudes. That also helps to build resilience. So resilience, like we've said, is about facing challenges and disappointment and being able to spring back. So many times, to be able to spring back, they have to find the positives and keep moving forward. So there are some thinking habits that can help children to do that. You should be able to think positively and move forward. Like I said again, my daughter, I think she came home on Thursday. Usually they do dramas once in a month for their classes. And she said they did not they've never picked her for drama and she thinks she can do it. I say when they say it's time for drama, raise up your hand. And she said she has been raising up her hand and they never pick her. So I now told her, okay, what you will do is you will keep practicing the drama. You know you can do it. Just keep practicing it. Every time they say, who wants to do, raise up your hand, even if they don't call you. One day, the person that they call may not do it well. But you see, the day that they call you, they must be in trouble. Such that by the time you finish delivering, they will say, and it will now be you that they'll be calling all the time. Other people will now be feeling that, why are they not calling? So if I had not done that and I say, I go to the school to go and fight, why are you not calling my daughter for drama? Why are you not doing this? It may be a victim mentality I'm building in her. You just prepare yourself and let the opportunity meet you ready. They will not pick everybody, Abby. Everybody cannot be there, but just know that it's because they've not yet picked me. When they pick me, I will be ready for this thing. So building those kind of thought processes helps your children rather than feel like, they didn't pick me, they don't like me. It's only the people they like. It's only the this they like. Meanwhile, those things are not even true many times. Because if you work with children, you know that sometimes you will say, oh yeah, come and do it. They will do it anyhow. So it is those that have shown that they can do it that you will keep using. You won't want to stress yourself and say, okay, you come and try. So it can happen like that. But even if the case is that they don't like you, it does not now mean that you will now be there and be sad and do your own. Okay, so being able to finding positive things to ways to think is also very helpful. So many times when your children experience disappointments, they learn to do things differently and it can help them with bigger challenges. So allow them to sometimes make their mistakes. You can allow them to make their mistakes so that they learn how to do things better. I'm not talking about mistakes that will negatively affect them or impact them. But sometimes they may need to do some things, get it wrong, and then they will now get it right. So it's okay to allow them to make their mistakes. Another thing you need to build about their attitudes and their thinking is self-compassion. Again, even as adults, many of us don't have self-compassion. We are so wicked to ourselves. You treat people very nice person. But you see, if you treated somebody the way you are treating yourself, they will call you a wicked person. So you don't have any regard for yourself. Anything goes. You walk yourself to the bone. You set unrealistic goals. You need to have self-compassion. And you have to have it to be able to instill it in your children. They need to be kind to themselves. They need to be kind to themselves, to value themselves, hold themselves with respect. The same way you hold somebody with respect and you're kind to them is the same way you should do that to yourself. So you need to help them to also recognize and acknowledge when things are going well, not just when things are going bad. So when they've been complaining, I did not do this, they did not pick me for this, the day they pick them to just do waka pass, you will acknowledge it and say, they picked you at least. There are some people that were not there. So acknowledge when things also go well, not just complaining and complaining. Okay. So over time, children will develop resilience. So you should also give them time. So it's not as if every time something happens and then they are devastated, you now be hard on them about it. It takes time, it takes nurturing, and then over time, they will develop resilience. So we've talked about how we can improve resilience. Now, how can we reduce vulnerability? Like I said, it's like almost word and opposite. So to reduce vulnerability, you need to create a safe environment, and we've spoken about that, providing a stable and supportive home where the child knows that no matter what happens, I have a solid home I can come back to. Even if the whole world batters me and pushes me down, when I go home, they're not going to continue that battering. They're not going to also talk down on me and all sorts. But the home is a safe and stable environment for them. You also need to monitor and support them. So you need to keep an eye on your child's well-being. It's not just enough to provide the basic things. You have food, you have clothes, you are going to a good school, you are living in a home. Their well-being, how are they doing? Is there anything bothering you? Are you happy? Is there anything that is making you sad? Is there anything that you think we can improve? So keeping up with their well-being, supporting them is also very important. You also need to help to build their self-esteem. Again, it is something they will learn from you. Even though you teach them, they will copy what you are doing. So if you yourself are not a very confident person, your self-esteem is very low, you may need to work on it so that you can help them to work on their self-esteem. So we need to teach children to be confident in themselves. It doesn't matter what the world says about you. What matters is what God thinks about you and then what you think about yourself. For example, again, my 7-year-old daughter, again, she's plumpy, she's like me. And some of the time she has come to tell me that her different classmates, they say she's fat, she's this, she's that, and she's not happy about it. So I had to sit her down and tell her that, now, if you're not happy, look at yourself. If you're not happy about this, you can do something about it. But if you are just sitting down and say, I'm not happy about it, they're doing this, and go back to cry, it's very not helpful. Now, if you want to do something about it, you're not doing something about this because so that they will now stop saying that. Because if they may stop saying that and say something else. But you are doing it about it, something about it, because you yourself want it. If you don't want to do something about it, then it's okay. But if you are going to do something about it, of course, I also let her know the implications and everything. So yes, I think you should work on it, but it's not because of, so that they will now start saying, okay, she's no more fatty bum bum, or she's now, no, because if they stop saying that, they can start saying something else. So if you will work on yourself, it's okay to listen for feedback. If somebody says this, and then you think about it and say, oh, okay, it's true. I don't really like about this about myself, and I work on it. But now saying, because they said this, then I'll do this because they said this, will just make the child not to be self-confident and then to just... Okay, we also need to teach them healthy coping mechanisms. Healthy coping mechanisms. How to cope with stress. So when a person is very stressed, what do they do? Some of us, when we are very stressed, then we shout, we lash out and all that. That is what they're going to learn. But if you teach them, when you are stressed, there are a number of things you can do. For example, if you are very upset, you can journal, you can write it out. And when you write it out, it's like releasing some of those emotions. You can walk, you can take a walk, you can spend some time praying, so there are many things that they can use to cope with stressful periods. But again, they will model what you are doing. You also need to stay involved, engage in their lives, engage in their interests. So find out what are the things they like to do. Some of the things, there are shows they like to watch. Sit down, watch it with them, discuss it with them. Some of the things that they're interested in, their hobbies, engage in it. And just keep involved so that you are even their friend from that time, and you are able to build confidence in them. So in conclusion, building resilience is important. Reducing vulnerability is also very important. They take time, effort, and patience. It's not something that will just happen and the child will just somehow turn out resilient. It is time, patience, and doing different things intentionally so that you're able to build confidence in them to navigate life's challenges. Now, I have a final quote here from, I think she's a researcher in child wellness, also a missionary. She said, in the end, the outcomes of our children are out of our hands. We are called to love, care, and pray for the children we love and serve with all the wisdom God will give us. But ultimately, we release them back to the one who gave them to us, trusting that he has a good plan and holding fast to the hope we have through him. Thank you very much for your attention.
All right. So we're going to have questions now. Please, provide. Do you have microphone?
Good afternoon, Daddy and Mommy. Good afternoon, Ma. Understanding the generation of, children we are raising now, and considering the fact that they have a high tendency to, go to the extreme. Now, that part of, engaging them when they go wrong, spontaneously, many of us, we would have acted before, in fact, you don't even have time to start talking. They actually, and many times they also take advantage. They take advantage, of, at times, not all the time, of that sense of, okay, my mommy will always talk to me, explain. So I want to ask, how do we, bridge that gap? That's number one. Then number two, sometimes they also exhibit certain habits. And you mentioned something about, talking to them when they have maybe a moody day and all of that. Now, practically, I want to ask, how exactly can one, sometimes you've explained, okay, you don't have to be angry when people don't give you what you want. This is how to handle it. But in other practical climes, how do you think, we can address and handle that situation? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So for the first question, the truth of the matter is we are all work in progress. So for example, some of the things I said about not reacting, it's not as if I am perfect like that. But if you are mindful of it, the times you react spontaneously will reduce drastically. And the times where you actually think about it and process your emotions will increase more. So it doesn't mean that because we have now said it, we are sure that everybody from now on will never react when they are angry. It may not come that way, because we all know that when you are angry, sometimes things would have happened before you even process it. But if you are mindful of it, you are going to be a bit more intentional. Now, you also need to create a balance and also have strict boundaries. So, for example, if you tell a child, if you do this, this is the consequence. When a child does it, you must impute that consequence. So it's not, I'm not a fan of saying, I'll beat you. If I said I will beat you, I will beat you. I can explain to you that I'm beating you because you did this, but I will beat you, so that we are clear on what is going on. So talking to them does not mean that you will just talk and then no consequence. No. So if a child does something and you have already set clear consequences, they will get that consequence. You will just discuss with them so that you are on the same page, so they don't think that mommy beats me because of this, when it is actually this. So if we have set this rule and we said if this happens, then this consequence will follow, that consequence must follow. If not, it is also bad parenting. So it's now different if, let's say, there are new things. Let's say I said, don't touch this, if not I will beat you. And then the thing fell and broke. And then I now say, I'm going to beat you because you touched it. And then she now says, no, it was this person that pushed me. That may now result to something else. I will not say, because you still, do you understand? So although it is case by case, if you set a consequence for something, you must follow through. If not, it's also bad parenting. So it's not just that we are saying talk to them and that's it. No. You are talking because you need to keep the line of communication open. You need them to be on the same page with you and to understand the things that you are doing. Some of us think back and we have periods when our parents beat us that we don't even know what we did. So it's important for them to know why, so that next time they won't do that. Some people will think that my mom beat me because I was standing like this. Meanwhile, she beat you because it was something else. So you need to be clear. That's the communication. Not that you let them get away with it. Do you understand, ma? The second question is about how to help to build positive thinking patterns. So how to cope with emotions when they have an emotion, how to help them to cope with it. Basically, it's when I was talking about it, you need to, and it's not just the children, even us, need to get to a point where your emotions, you are in control of your emotions. Your emotions are not just controlled by what people do, by people's actions. Yes, emotions are normal. So if somebody, for example, if somebody is talking to me and then spits on me, even if it's mistaken, the first, you'll be put off or annoyed. But I won't let that thing dictate my whole day. Or because I'm now annoyed, I now sit here and I don't hear anything they are saying. Maybe it's even the person that spat on me that is talking. Do you understand? I will now say, because I'm not, do you understand? I need to be able to get to a point where, okay, the natural reaction was disgust. But can I now control this emotion and then find something else? Okay, he spat on me. It was a mistake. If I think it is so important, I can ask him, this is what you did. And then he apologizes. If he does not apologize, am I also going to let him hold me to ransom? No. So being able to have control over your emotions and deciding that, okay, this person did something that made me sad, but I'm not going to stay sad. This person did something that made me angry. I'm not going to let it ruin my mood. I'm not going to let it affect the way I talk to somebody. For example, some of us, somebody will annoy you outside. You come and pour it on the children inside. That should not be. It's part of emotional regulation. This is the person that did something to me and made me angry. If I'm angry with him, I'm angry with him. I will not allow it to affect the way I relate to other people. I don't know if you understand now. So there's no blueprint for you to say, okay, when this happens, do this. But knowing that I am in control of my emotions, I decide how I react, I decide how I stay. So even if I reacted somehow spontaneously, I can decide that, okay, I'm still going to be angry with him, but it's not because he made me angry, it's because I decide to be angry. So I can decide to do something else. Do you understand that? Okay.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for the lecture. Because I want to ask about peer pressure. How can we prepare our children to handle negative influence, like practical steps to prepare them psychologically to stand for what they believe and not be influenced negatively? Because in this time, it's very common. There's a lot of things on social media, in their schools and all that. So maybe from home, where they come from, they don't allow them do some things. So when they get there, they feel like they don't feel among and they feel like outcasts. So how can we prepare them psychologically, get them ready, practical ways we can achieve that?
Okay, thank you, sir. So the world is a scary place. There are so many vices, so many things that keep coming up. And we really pray and hope that our children are not part of this. Now, like I mentioned earlier, when a child is still a child, the most important voice are the voices of his parents. And it is important to maximize that period. So being their friends, being open with them, letting them know that they can tell you anything, and being open to them. So if you see that a child is struggling to tell you something, they're afraid, they're not sure how you will react. When they tell you, as much as possible, don't react in that way. It may be something you may need to caution them about, but don't let it react. Don't let them, like from when my daughter, I was small, I've started telling her that there's nothing you will do in this life that will make me to stop loving you. And there's nothing that is so bad that you should not be able to tell me. Even if you are the one that did it bad, there's nothing. Once you tell me, let's talk about it. So I have ingrained that, and I keep repeating it from time to time, that there's nothing you will say or you will do that do you understand? So them having that at the back of their minds too is also very important. That no matter how far I have gone or whatever bad thing I have done, there is the way back home. Do you understand? I can always come back. If you create a relationship with them, you are open with them, you have a partnership with them, you are likely to know the things that they are capable of doing and not. Now, I'm not saying this is 100% fail-proof, because children are also their own person. Just the same way God gave us free will. It's the same way you could have done all this, cultivated a relationship, be open, let them express themselves, teach them values and everything, and they will still choose to do the wrong thing. It is not impossible. So the fact that a child steps outside of the path that you set for them does not mean that you did not do all. You will just do all within your power. And at the end of the day, you pray for them. Many times, many of these children that have had this stable background will eventually find their way back. And it will be because of the work that you have done. So even when you do it and it seems as if things are not going the way they should, don't be too discouraged. There are a lot of things some of us may have done that even though our parents are looking at us as good children, if they knew, they would have thought, but we found our way back. So don't give up on the child. Because you know what they are doing does not mean, don't give up on them. Continue to pray for them, and then by God's grace, they will find their way back. But it's important to build a strong foundation, because by the time they are 13, 14, they are not, what you are saying, they will question it. They will ask their friends. They will Google it. They will. So just make sure that you did the work that time. And then when they're adolescents, encourage them to continue coming to you. Be as open with them as possible. And pray for them. Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma. Good afternoon, Daddy, Mommy. Okay, you were talking about. Thank you, first of all, for the talk. You were talking about children being, my own word, being chatty and encouraging them to talk more. Okay, so I have a 4-year-old that is very, very chatty. Like from when he opens his eyes, there's today, Mommy. Today, what is today? It's today Tuesday. What, you understand? So he's always chatty around the clock. Like there's no dull moment with him. So I'm finding hard to strike a balance between always wanting to hear him out and cautioning him, like, okay, Nathan, just keep quiet for now. Okay, don't talk between now and this time. How do I strike the balance without, dampening that that thing in him? Thank you, ma.
Okay. So as much as possible, it's good to allow children to express themselves. Now, listening to children sometimes can even be very annoying. They want to ask you a question, and they may even be stammering. When just talk and go. But it's important to hear them out, to let them express themselves. So what you need to do, for example, is to try and guide him. So if, for example, he's very chatty and you know that, let's say you come to church, you don't want him to talk so much. As you're coming to church, you let him know, okay, we are going to church now. I don't want you to talk as much as possible, so stay quiet, don't say this. And then when you get to church, he may sit out to talk, and I tell him, remember what I told you. Wait a little. He will come again. Remember, after a while, he may have longer times when he doesn't talk as much. Or you are busy. Let's say you have a presentation or a meeting, and you let him know, you cannot talk to me from now to now. When I finish, then you can talk. But when it is, there's nothing big at stake, allow him to talk. Let him be talking. After a while, many of these children, when they become adolescents, you are the one that will be begging them to talk. So allow him. It's only when you see that, okay, please, I need to do this. Can you come and ask me this here? Can we talk about it in 10 minutes? Or I will call you when I finish what I'm doing. We'll talk about it. But if he's just talking and the voice is annoying you, allow him. After some time, he will reduce.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for the engaging sessions. Okay, thank you. Okay, my first question has to do with resolving when a child is sick or is not feeling too well. So resolving that place of you are caring for the child and you are still being firm. So for my example has to do with maybe conceding a request from that child. So for instance, the child is not to be backed again, and the child is now requesting, oh, Mommy, I want you to back me. And because the child is not feeling too well. So what do you do in that situation? You want to concede, you want to care for the child and make the child feel maybe loved at that situation that she's not feeling too well, and you still want to be friend, maybe build resilience in that. The fact that you are sick does not mean that you'll be doing mushy mushy. So the second question has to do with sweet tricks. Using sweet tricks. I've seen such things on social media. So parents, mothers especially, they have a child that does not like taking medicine because medicine is bitter. So they now use a sweet, maybe a carton of juice. They now put I've seen it so much. And I'm like, this is building trust issues. What do you think about that? As what should we do about such tricky areas in terms of parenting and caring for children? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So for the first question about if a child is ill and how much you should indulge them, again, I think it's based on the circumstances, but there should be some firm barriers. I mean, where there are barriers, sometimes you may need to be a bit, I mean, if a child is, let's say, 4 and has stopped being backed and they are sick and they want you to back them, if it won't cost you much, you can back them. But if, for example, if a child is 10 years old and then, okay, of course, they won't ask to be backed, but let's say they are sick and they are vomiting and they vomited on the sitting room, you've cleaned, they vomited here, you clean, you can tell them, when you feel the vomit coming, go to the toilet. That child is old enough to be able to do that. You not say, because they are sick, they can do it. Do you understand? So you will still try as much as possible to, what you think they should be able to do, despite the illness. They should do it, but you can give some allowances, especially that is just, maybe they have malaria, in 2-3 days, it will pass. So if they want something and it is not affecting anything, you can give it to them. If they want you to back them, and you can back them. It's okay. If you cannot, if it's a 10-year-old that tells you to back them, that will be regressed behavior. You won't do that. Now, for the next thing about deceiving children with medicine, I know it's a battle to get children to take medicine, especially those medicines are not nice, many of them. Many of them are horrible tasting. But I think also that it is building trust issues if you keep deceiving your child. Remember, you are modeling for the children. When I want to give my child medicine, who is 3, I will tell her, this one is bitter, but you must take it. So you will take it. After that, we've brought water close by, or we've brought juice close by. You will take it, and then you can take juice. And I will give her. She was ill like 2 weeks ago. She will take it and spit it out. I beat her and gave her again until she eventually took it. And then after taking it, you will take the juice or whatever. So that tomorrow, if I tell you this is sweet, you know it's sweet. If I tell you it is bitter, it's bitter. So I think it's important not to deceive our children, because they see these things and they stay with them. Just like saying, Dad, I'm going out. So yeah, go and wear your shoe, I'm coming. And then that's deceit. Because you've gone to where they will go and wear their shoe and come back and you've gone. That's deceit. If you tell them, I'm sorry, where I'm going to, you cannot go with me. I will come back soon. When I come back, I can buy something for you, I can do this, but you cannot go. What's the worst thing that will happen? They will cry. Children can cry. Crying doesn't kill anybody. So they can cry, but they know tomorrow, if I say I will wait for you, they won't be afraid that I won't wait for them. So you need to be consistent and not deceive, because they see, and those things stay ingrained in them.
Absolutely. I wanted to talk on 2 areas. First is how to practically build confidence and esteem in children and adolescents. I know that one of the things that many times make children bow to peer pressure many times is issue of self-confidence and esteem. Of course, I don't think there's anybody that does not have peer pressure. We all went through peer pressure. I don't think that there's any child that is not peer pressured. But it's just the level of yielding that I feel, that's my own opinion. I know you are a child psychiatrist, so you might be able to, but practically I think one way or the other, every child gets peer pressured, and in one way or the other are influenced by their peer. But it's not just, they could be influenced positively or negatively. It's not what you decide to pick, and then the level of whatever you have within you to withstand certain things. So, as parents, what do you feel? Because most of the children we have now, we have some teenagers and adolescents, but we also have like when I went to the children's church last week, I was shocked. I didn't even know they were that much. As in, they've really grown. So, for children less than 10, what do you feel parents can practically do at this stage before their children start entering? I think the peer pressure is more when they enter secondary school. What can they practically do to build self-esteem and confidence in their children right from a tender age? Then number two, I've been out of touch with handling child whatever now. But I know that then, during those times we do child psychiatry and all that, I knew that for children, that most of the problems we have with children, not being resilient, all these suicidal things that happen to children, depression, peer pressure, antisocial behavior. I knew that dysfunctional family used to be a major thing. Well, we don't have dysfunctional family, but I know that right now, no, you see a lot of cases, and Dr. Denny was telling me some of the cases they see, even Gen Zs that have started working, that, so to say, they have good jobs, they work remotely, but they are depressed, they have money, they have everything, but they're always suicidal, they're tired of life, they don't see any meaning about life, depression. So for you, I know, because I've been really thinking. So what do you feel when taking away the dysfunctional family issue? Because I don't think that would apply here, but what are the things you feel that we should be aware of that might end up when children grow up not to really be able to face life? As in, now, talking about practically things you see now, in children that predisposes them to mental health issues, later, apart from the dysfunctional family, as in from interacting with families now. Because I found out that even sometimes some of these risk factors too, they follow trends. So what are the trends that, there was a time, it was because our parents were too strict, that some children turned out bad. Now we don't have strict parents again. Poor, which is still weak parenting, is still poor parenting. And then we see our children. So but from your experience now, handling children over these years now, apart from dysfunctional family, what are the things you feel as parents we should watch out for, that you feel can contribute to mental health challenges, and all these things, depression, suicidality, all these things that you feel from your practical experience that parents need to really watch out for? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma. So for the first one, how can we practically build self-esteem, a child's self-esteem? So what we can do is to make them to be confident in themselves and their abilities. But that also has to be balanced so that we don't raise what we call praise junkies. People that cannot function except somebody says, you are doing well. This is very good. So you need to be able, let them know you are beautiful, you can do this, you can do that, you can do this. But even if nobody says you are beautiful, you must know it yourself. You're not waiting for somebody else to do. And a number of studies have shown that by the time parents are saying these things all the time, any little thing, you've done well, you are doing this, sometimes it may become detrimental. Because except they hear that praise, they are not fulfilled. That again is a problem, because you are putting your self-esteem in somebody else's hands. So there needs to be a balance. So yes, when a child does something, you praise them, but let the praise not be too excessive, too above what has happened. So, oh wow, you were able to do it. That's very good. And as much as possible, redirect how do I say it now? Redirect it to them. So rather than saying, I'm proud of you, you can say, you must be proud of yourself. Or, are you proud of yourself? That helps them to build a sufficiency, so to say. So even if nobody tells me I'm proud of myself, or I look at myself in the mirror, I know I'm beautiful. Even if nobody needs to say, wow, you're beautiful, because before you know you are beautiful. So, well, like I said, all of us are work in progress. We can only try as much as possible. So, for example, some time ago, I said something to my younger daughter. I said, wow, you are so beautiful. And then my older daughter said, so why didn't you now say me too, I'm beautiful? I said, no, what do you think about yourself? If you look at the mirror, if you look at yourself, what do you think? Do you think you are beautiful? She says, yes, I'm beautiful. So if somebody does not tell you, should not change what you know about yourself. If somebody does not say you're intelligent, do you believe that you're intelligent? Why do you say you're intelligent? Then the Bible says, because I can do this. So you know you're intelligent. It doesn't matter what anybody is saying. So as much as possible, building that balance, opening their eyes to see their abilities. So for example, a child draws something. It's not every time that they do bad that we are saying, you're not doing this, you didn't get your match, you didn't do this. They drew and they drew properly, or they colored in the line. You can say, oh, you did this very well. You colored in the lines. This is really good. Are you proud of yourself? Do you think this is a very good picture? And then it helps them to become confident in their abilities. So I know many times we are more used to looking at the bad things. You did not do this right. You did not do this right. But they are doing some things right. No matter how little or inconsequential we think those things are doing. Maybe it is that they can engage with people. You are a really friendly person. Imagine you're able to talk to this person. We can look at it another way and say you are too lousy. You are just talking. But it can be a strength. You are able to engage with people, and that's really good because some people cannot do it. And then it helps them to become confident in themselves. So as much as possible, look for the good. There is a good in everybody. There's more than one good, plenty good in. So if you look enough, you're able to cultivate those things and not praise them too much such that they're always expecting to be praised. So sometimes you can ask, this picture that you drew, what do you think about it? And then you discuss it. Eventually they can come to the fact that, oh, it is good. Or even if it's not good, I've drawn better pictures, so I'm likely to be a good artist. So helping them to recognize their potentials, pointing them to their strengths and even their weaknesses. Oh, you're not able to do this maths properly, but do you think if you study, is it likely that you will do it well? And then you can even push them to study, and they see that, okay, if I study, I can do it well. I may not be as strong in maths as other people. People may be able to get it after they teach them the first time, but I know that if I study it, I can get it. So I didn't get it right because I didn't study. So they are able to be confident in themselves. Not that, you are not even intelligent. You are just this. See your mates, they are doing this, they are doing that. Rather, point them to a strength and show them that, okay, you didn't do this well, but maybe you didn't wash the plates well. Maybe it was because you were distracted. Do you think that if you do it again, you will do it better? Then they are able to build confidence in themselves. Build confidence in themselves. Of course, having a strong relationship, a relationship with their parents and peers around helps them to also be confident because they are rooted somewhere. And it doesn't matter if somebody says something outside. Other people are not, the people that they at home are not saying those bad things. So if a child goes to school and they bully him and they come back home and all the parents are saying is a fact, you are a very weak child. They beat you. You cannot beat your own back. You are even, the child is this. You are beating the child down. You can say, okay, it's a good thing. I think you didn't want to fight and he beat you. Let's look at it. That person may be going through some things. That's why he did that. What do we think? That's also bringing problem-solving skills. How do we think we can handle it? He beat you. It was not your fault. You are the one. You are the victim, but you will not stay the victim. What can you do? Next time, you can tell him you're going to report, or if he does it, you're going to do this. You help them to stand up to the person, but you are not... Exactly. So it is something that's... you may not get all the things right. There may be sometimes you may maybe give some advice that is not so good. But if you are intentional, at the end of the day, you are going to build a child that has very good self-esteem. Now, for the trends we see, like I said, so many young people these days seem to be not strong. Very little things that normally should be a walkover. And then things just like how many days ago, somebody who wrote JAM that didn't pass went to, yes. I remember we used to tease people. Aha. In fact, I had a friend that we say they will just give him jam t-shirts. I love jam. And once you go, they should just give him permanent number. Let him just exactly. Some people did jam 4, 5, 6 times. But these days it seems to be a problem. So there are a lot of things that point to the fact that people these days are not as resilient. And a number of factors can come in. Parenting is very important. So we used to complain that our parents were too strict, which was a problem, yes, because we probably lived in fear, but could survive a number of things. Now, many parents may have tilted to the other side, where they are just permissive. So the part where they are very strict, they expect this, you must be the first in class, you must get this, you must do this. That's what we call authoritarian style of parenting. It's just results, excellence. I expect this from you. And then the other part where, okay, you want to do that, okay. That's like permissive, where you just allow them, because I love you, just do it. Okay, I don't want the child to be upset. And then that's another part, which is also bad parenting. The part that is, what is important is the balance, which is called authoritative parenting. So in that case, you balance the demands with your response, your show of love. So you expect that the child does well. I expect you to do your homework without reminding you. I expect you to wash the plates. I expect you to do this. I expect you to do this. But you also show equal love equally. And, okay, let me hear from you. Are there things that are going on that may have stopped you from doing this? Is something going on? So you balance it. Yes, you are interested in their well-being, but not at the detriment of them building themselves up. It's important for a child to have, for you to have expectations in a child. If a child is just growing up, and whether you pass, okay, whether you fail, okay, if you can do this, that child is not stimulated, is not motivated to do anything. So it's important. Expecting things from them is important to also push them to succeed. So it's important to have high expectations, but it's also important to also draw them closer. Like the Yoruba people say, when you beat a child with one hand, you draw them exactly. So you're not just harsh. You are also pulling them to yourselves. Now, so permissive, I think that poor parenting is one of the major factors. Then there's also, the changing world. Life as it was some 20 years ago is totally different from now. Children from now are exposed to so many things. It's not all bad, because they have a lot of information and can everything. Like 2 days ago, my daughter was asking my husband, "Do you know Maria something?" He said, "Is he a man or a woman?" And she said, "Hey, you don't know him. You don't know her." Then she turned to me. I just turned away as if, because or another day, I'm a teacher in children's church, in my church. And then we were just waiting for the service to start. Then they started arguing about dinosaurs. And they said this one is, they had all the names. And they were now saying, "No, it's not it. I'm going to come and ask Auntie." I carried my phone and started looking at Google, because I'd never had those things in my life. And they were arguing and saying, "I know you're not correct. I don't even know." But so they are exposed. They have a lot of information, but they also have a lot of things that may be damaging to them. And that's the reason why it is important to restrict as much as possible their access to some of these things. It may be difficult, because you may restrict your child's access to the internet, and they will go to school and meet the one that has unrestricted access, and they will talk about it. So that's why it's also important. Everything is interconnected. It's important for them to be able to come and tell you everything. Because when they hear that thing, they should be able to come and tell you what they heard. Like the other day, my daughter came to tell me that, hey, they said that in America, a man can marry a man. I said, "Who told you?" She said her sister, her friend. I wasn't ready for that kind of conversation. But whether you are ready or not, they will mix with people. So you have to. So there's so much that they're exposed to. Even if you say, my child is going to be, they will still go to school and meet other people. They will hear different things, do different things. So it's important to be open so that you can quickly direct the way they are thinking before the thought lands that it is something that is all right. You quickly check it. So there are so many things. There's also, if you also talked about dysfunctional parenting, which, like you said, we hope there's nothing like that here. But it's also important to be consistent. Consistent. So you don't say one thing and then do another thing. Say one thing, it affects the way a child interacts with the world. Same way that the parents need to present a united front. You don't say, okay, you can go, and daddy says no, you cannot go, and you keep tussling. Or maybe when you have arguments, or you have an argument with your spouse, then you use the children to score points. You will say, okay, you can now go. Since children see all these things and they take advantage, yes, they take advantage of them. And these things have far-reaching consequences. It's very easy to mislead a child. In fact, without planning to, you can. That's why the Bible said, and it's a very horrible thing, where Jesus said, if any of you causes one of these to, exactly. But it is so easy to do that. Just say something, tell them something, and do something else. The thing you tell them is not what they are listening to. It's the thing you are doing. And as you are doing it, what are you doing? You're misleading them. So it's important. Many times when children see one thing and then another thing is going on, they have what we call like a dissonance. Things are not adding up. This is this way, and it causes a lot of distress. And that distress can now cause problems with depression, with suicidal thoughts, and everything, and all that. So it's very important to, like I said, the family is one of the most important units in a child's life. So apart from all those things, we just need to support them. And like I said, a person may do all these things and the child still chooses another way, or even comes down with something. It doesn't mean that you have not done what is best, but doing what you should do is important, because it will serve as a cushion for the child. And hopefully, by the time they retrace their ways, they'll be able to come back to what you have taught them, the values you have instilled in them. Thank you.